أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله اللهم ربنا زدنا علما وفهما وإيمانا ويقين رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. The fourth point, fasting of Ramadan contains many divine purposes related to self-training and self-discipline, such as the nafs, the carnal self, desires and considers itself to be free and unrestricted. It even wishes by its very nature for an imagined lordship and free arbitrary action, not liking to think that it is being trained and tested through Allah's countless bounties, Jalla wa ala. It swallows up such bounties like an animal and in the manner of a thief or robber, especially if its wealth and power is accompanied by heedlessness. In Surah Al-Alaq, we have the introduction. اقرأ استعوذ بالله اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم كلا إن الإنسان ليطغى أن رآه استغنى إن إلى ربك الرجعى. The reality is كلا إن الإنسان ليطغى. Indeed, humankind is in a situation of rebellion, in a situation of ungratefulness, when he thinks that he or she is mustaghni, he does not need or she does not need anything, he or she is self-sufficient, when someone is healthy, when someone is wealthy, when someone has status in the community, when someone has big family, so wealth, health, youth, status in the community, and also a big family, people think that they are invincible and they are the lords of themselves. They don't like the idea that they are owned or ruled by someone, that someone is Allah Jalla wa ala. In this point, the fourth point, fasting of Ramadan contains many divine purposes related to self-training and self-discipline. Now we are focusing on self-training and self-discipline, such as, for example, the nafs, the carnal self, desires and considers itself to be free and unrestricted. And we see it in the community right now. They say, this is my body. I can do whatever I want to do. This is my life. I can do whatever I want to do. There is no limit. I don't let myself to be ruled by anybody or anything. I am free. I own myself. This is the trend that we have in the time and age we are living in right now. So the carnal self, nafs, desires and considers itself to be free and unrestricted. It even wishes by its very nature for an imagined lordship. I am the Rabb of myself. I am the owner of myself. I can do whatever I want. For an imagined lordship and free arbitrary action, not liking to think that it is being trained and tested through Allah's countless bounties. إِنَّا جَعَلْنَا مَا عَلَى الْأَرْضِ زِينَةً لَهَا لِنَبْلُوَهُمْ أَيُّهُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا وَإِنَّا لَجَاعِلُونَ مَا عَلَيْهَا سَعِيدًا جُرُزًا. Whatever we have beauty on this earth, Allah made them as zina, as beauty, to adorn it, as a test area. And when the test is over, He's going to destroy everything. So everything on this earth, and we are, everything on this earth is a test area, and we are in a test. And nafs wishes that we are free. We are not in a test. We own ourselves. There is no accountability. Not liking to think that it is being trained. Rabb is doing tarbiyah through hunger, through sickness, through troubles that we have in our lives. difficulties that we suffer makes us better and stronger, ibadullah. Without any difficulties, we don't get sharper, we don't get stronger, we don't turn towards Allah. All the difficulties that we are facing is a reminder that we are owned by someone, which is Allah Jalla wa Ala. And not liking our nafs, meaning to think that it is being trained and tested through Allah's countless bounties. It swallows up such bounties like an animal and in a manner of a thief or a robber, especially if its wealth and power is accompanied by heedlessness. Even for the people who are Muslims, who know that we are accountable towards Allah, if that person is born in a wealthy family, in a ruling family, like a prince born into a kingship, all throughout his life that person has no difficulties financially, no difficulties as an authority. Everything and anything he wants happens. And such situations make people arrogant. And it makes heedless, the people heedless. They don't know, they don't care, they don't have any empathy or sympathy. So if health and wealth and power and status, all of them come together with the heedlessness, that person fails to understand that he or she is in a test and eats up all the blessings, whether it is a food or a dress or anything that he or she is enjoying is from Allah. He forgets that, especially if that person is wealthy and has status in the community, and swallows up everything without thanking Allah, forgets Allah. During Ramadan, everyone's nafs understand that it is owned by one other, not by itself. That is a servant, that he or she is a servant, not a free agent. Unless ordered or permitted, it cannot do even the most common things like eating and drinking. We know that we are created by Allah, but we tend to forget. We tend to forget the place we have in the universe, our status in the universe. We are ibadullah. We are created to worship Allah. We are created to thank Allah for the things that we have, for the health, for the family, for the food, for everything what we have. We forget to thank Allah. But our nafs remembers during Ramadan through hunger that we are owned by Allah. The more we cut the ties with the badan, with the physical body we have, and get closer to our spiritual reality, the more we remember Allah and our status towards Allah Jalla wa Ala. During Ramadan, everyone's nafs understand that it is owned by one other, meaning Allah Jalla wa Ala. Maliki yawmiddin, Maliki kulli shay, Maliki yawmiddin, and Maliki kulli shay. Not by itself. That it is a servant, not a free agent. We are servants of Allah, Abdullah. We are not free. Unless ordered or permitted, it cannot do even the most common things like eating and drinking. For example, if the iftar time at summer is 8 o'clock and it's 7:30, it's only half hour left. We cannot touch the food, we cannot touch the drink because we don't own ourselves. We are acting on behalf of Allah on this earth within His limits. And during Ramadan, we remember that reality. Without the permission of Allah, we cannot even eat and drink, the simplest things. This inability shatters its illusory lordship and enables it to admit its servanthood and perform its real duty of thanksgiving, meaning shukr. So, in a sense, Ramadan is the time to remind ourselves that first, we do not own ourselves. Rabb is Allah, we are not Rabbs. We are just Abd, Ibadullah, Ibadur Rahman, عباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون قالوا سلاما. We are عباد الرحمن. We are عبادullah. We are عباد الرزاق. Without the rizq from Allah, without His permission, we cannot even touch and eat. During Ramadan, we remember this. When we are sick, may Allah give us health. But there are people who are so sick that even they are wealthy enough to buy anything they want, they cannot touch the food because if they eat it, they will die. So they are on a very strict diet and they say that, you see, I own anything and everything I want. I can buy anything and everything I want, but I cannot eat it because if I eat it, I will die. So I am owned by somebody else, which is Allah Jalla wa Ala, Maliki kulli shay, and Maliki myself also. He is the owner of myself. It's the time to remember that. Fifth point, fasting of Ramadan prevents the carnal self, nafs, from rebelling and adorns it with good morals. During our regular daily times, sometimes we forget ourselves and we do the things that we regret. We say the things that we regret. We don't do the things that we are supposed to do and we regret later on that we didn't do them. And fasting of Ramadan prevents the nafs from rebelling and adorns it with good morals. It keeps us from rebelling, meaning saying bad things, doing bad things against the law of Allah. And nafs becomes much more docile because of the hunger. A person's carnal self, nafs, forgets itself through heedlessness, through carelessness. It neither sees nor wants to see its inherent infinite impotence, poverty, and defects. Although we are rich, we are poor. Even though we are mighty and powerful, we are weak. And if we have perfect physical conditions, perfect education, this and that, we have defects. All the good things that we have are just little bit pieces of Allah's gifts, nothing more than that. Let's say that we have billions of dollars. If we are diagnosed with fourth stage pancreatic cancer, where is our wealth? Where is our might and power? Where is our perfection? The people who are diagnosed with fourth stage of pancreatic or liver cancer tends to die whether they are wealthy or healthy. They die within a 6 months or 1 year time period most of the time. So when we face such a calamity, we understand that we are weak, we are poor, we cannot buy our lives, we cannot do even the most easy, common things that we used to do when we are sick, especially when we lose our health. So these are the times to remember. It neither sees nor wants to see its inherent, infinite impotence, weakness, poverty, and defects. It does not reflect on how it is exposed to misfortune and subject to decay, and that it consists of flesh and bones that disintegrate and decompose rapidly. When we have a calamity, this is what it says here, it does not reflect on how it is exposed to misfortune. Everyone is faced sometime in their lives with misfortune, whether it is financial, whether it is accidents, whether it is health issues. Someone loses his child through an accident or through health issues. Someone is facing death because of illnesses, or someone faces bankruptcy through financial difficulties. Such problems are faced by atheists, faced by Buddhists, faced by Christians, Jews, and Muslims. Everyone is facing difficulties in their lives. But what makes a believer is how we react to those difficulties. And it is a reality that we are made from just bone and flesh and blood and liquids. When we get old, our body gets fragile and tends to break much easily, tends to get sick much easily. And when we die, the body that we worship, in a sense, we young people I see in the internet, they are looking in the mirror, they are doing makeups, they are doing this, they are doing that. They go to gyms to have 6 abs, this and that. They are good things to do. It's a good thing to take care of your physical body, making sports and exercises. But focusing on your body alone, focusing on how we look only, and forgetting the gift of this health and this youth that Allah gave us, the one who gave us, forgetting Allah and focusing on the gift only is something not very smart, at least to say. It is not smart. It does not reflect on how it is exposed to misfortune and subject to decay, and that is consists of flesh and bones that disintegrate and decompose rapidly. It rushes upon the world with a violent greed and attachment, as if it had a steel body and would live forever, and clings to whatever is profitable and pleasurable. Allah has hidden the time of death from us so that we enjoy life. Even we know that we would die when we are 85, 90 years old. When we know the day that we die, the life becomes miserable, even we have still 50 years, 60 years, because we know now the day and time that we die. Even the people who are in their 80s, if they don't have big sicknesses, they feel like as if they will live forever. Allah gave this as a gift so that we enjoy life, not that we should forget Allah and our demise. We are enjoying life as if we will not die. But we should focus, not forget that we will die, and we would be accountable for the things that we did and for the things that we didn't do, but we were supposed to do. So, nafs rushes upon the world with a violent greed and attachment, as if it had a steel body and would live forever, and clings to whatever is profitable and pleasurable. The people are focusing in short-term pleasures and forgetting the long-term pleasures of the akhirah. The burden of worship is very light. 5-time daily prayer is not a burden. Just 1 hour of worship, getting closer to Allah, chance to recharge, or in a sense, chance to meditate, not the way that Buddhists meditate or other yoga people, Hindus meditate, but meditate on who we are and meditate on who Allah is and meditate on our accountability towards Allah. And worship is not difficult, but the rewards on not only on akhirah, in akhirah, but also on this world is immense. The people who are true in their religion, who have trust in Allah Jalla wa ala, they have much, much, much less stress than the ones who don't rely on Allah. Why do we carry all the burdens of this world by ourselves? Let it be the burden of the creator of the universe. It's not our burden, it's Allah's job. We do our best and leave the rest in the hands of Allah Jalla wa ala. When we say Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil, when we say Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un, we put down the unnecessary burdens on our shoulders and we focus on the gifts that Allah gave us with thankfulness and shukr and hamd, and it makes us much happier person on earth, and it will also much happier people in the akhirah, inshallah. But nafs, as we said, rushes upon the world with a violent greed and attachment, as if it had a steel body and would live forever, and clings to whatever is profitable and pleasurable. In this state, it forgets its creator, who trains it with perfect care. Allah is the best murabbi, the one who gives the tarbiyah, education and training the best way. People make kofta or meatballs from ground beef, or they make steaks from meat, and they make some tarbiyah with herbs and the salt, this and that, and they make much more delicious meatballs or steaks. And we call that tarbiyah of the meat. In a sense, a training or education of the meat. It doesn't convey the message, but the language does not translate well. So we season it in a sense. But Allah is the one who makes tarbiyah of the soil and makes the cow, sheep, fishes, human beings from the soil, from the dust. Allah's tarbiyah, Allah's guidance is ultimate and perfect. And nafs in this state forgets its creator, who trains, who makes tarbiyah with perfect care. Being immersed in the swamp of immorality, it does not think about the consequences of life here or its hereafter. When people start diving or delving into sins, even though at the beginning they have some sort of faith in Allah and Judgment Day, the more they sin, the more they forget Allah Jalla wa Ala and the Judgment Day. And the more they sin, the more they wish that there is no Judgment Day. And they start to say, oh, this life is the only life we have. We need to enjoy it as much as we can. And the more they dive into sins, the more they wish that there is no God, because if there is God, there would be accountability, and they don't like the idea. And people tend to forget the consequences of the actions and forget the Creator and forget the afterlife. But fasting, the month of Ramadan, causes even the most heedless and stubborn to feel their weakness and innate poverty. The nafs wants to eat. When the nafs eats, gets stronger and wants to sin. But when people are hungry, nafs is weak. During Ramadan, nafs understands that he is not immortal. He is not something who would not call to be accounted. Everyone and everything in the creation, for human beings, I mean, will be accountable for their actions. So he remembers that, the nafs remembers that. But fasting the month of Ramadan causes even the most heedless and stubborn to feel their weakness and innate poverty. Hunger becomes an important consideration and reminds them of how fragile their bodies really are. Especially for the people who do not fast time to time during the year, first a couple of days of Ramadan, especially if they are addict of caffeine, coffee like me, first a couple of days would be difficult with headache and with weakness, especially also if someone has some diabetes, the fasting would be so difficult. And nafs remembers that how weak and how fragile our bodies are. If we go a couple of days without food, we become so weak, so that we can't even talk. So this is the reality nafs understands after a long hunger during the day of 15, 16 hours of fasting. They perceive their need for compassion and care and giving up haughtiness, want to take refuge in the divine court in complete helplessness and destitution, rising to knock at the door of rahmah, the door of mercy, with the hand of tacit, innate thanksgiving, provided, of course, that heedlessness has not yet corrupted them completely. During Ramadan, nafs and people understand their need for compassion and care and giving up unnecessary things, malayani, haughtiness, sins, want to take refuge in the divine court, meaning at the court of Allah Jalla wa ala, in complete helplessness and destitution. Think that you are fasting long days and you are close to iftar time, and you are really weak and hungry, and you understand that you are fragile, and Allah is the one you need to return to for anything you ask. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Want to take refuge in the divine court in complete helplessness and destitution, and rising to knock at the door of mercy, door of rahmah, with the hand of tacit thanksgiving. Allah is happy when we turn towards Him and asking help from Him, and shukr, showing shukr to Him. Provided, of course, the people who turn to Allah during Ramadan after feeling hunger, turn towards Him with thanks and asking forgiveness. Provided, of course, that heedlessness has not yet corrupted them completely. Yes, some people fast, and you see that they don't change much their actions during the day. And they keep lying, and they keep cheating people, and they don't do their 5 times daily prayers, or even they still don't show the results that the fasting needs to manifest during Ramadan. Such people, may Allah protect us from becoming one of them. Their hearts become so hard, so stained with the sins that even they fast. They fast because of a tradition. They fast because it is time to fast, nothing more, nothing less. And we are not saying that it is not important, but if fasting is the last rope for a man to tie with Islam, we should not regard it as an insignificant thing. But fasting must change us for the better. If it is not changing us for the better and we remain the same, and we sit on very luxury iftar tables, and we show off with the iftars that we give to other people to be said that such and such person invited 100 people, and you know he spent so much money for the iftar, there were 20 different meals, this and that. If you are doing it just to show off, there is a corruption in the heart that only Allah can heal. May Allah protect us becoming from such people, and may Allah help us to become better persons during the Ramadan, because we don't know how many Ramadans we left. And because of that reason, we do our best to make this Ramadan is the best Ramadan we had so far. And when we finish Ramadan with that intention and with that action, inshallah, we can look forward for the next Ramadan, for next year, but we don't know if we are going to reach that Ramadan or not. And Ramadan needs to change us for the better. The 6th point, Allah Jalla wa ala began revealing the Quran during Ramadan. Shahru Ramadan is the time that Allah revealed the Quran for the first time in Ghar Hira. This has many implications, such as to welcome the month when the Quran, that divine address, was revealed. Believers should try to be like angels by abandoning eating and drinking. As we know, angels don't eat the way we eat. They sustain themselves with good smells maybe, or with zikr of Allah. This is what they sustains them. But they don't eat the way that we eat. And during Ramadan, during daytime, when we keep ourselves from eating, we become, in a sense, like angels during the day who don't eat. To welcome the month when the Quran that divine address was revealed, believers should try to be like angels by abandoning eating and drinking. They also should seek to divest themselves of the carnal self's vain preoccupations and gross needs. Normally, we do a lot of ma la yani, meaning unnecessary things, which doesn't benefit neither our worldly life, or nor the akhirah. We waste time for unnecessary things, for unnecessary hobbies. At least during Ramadan, we should keep ourselves from these vain preoccupations. During Ramadan, they should, meaning the Muslims, should recite or listen to the Quran as if it were being revealed for the first time. So when we recite just to recite the Quran, to make the khatm of the Quran. But the reality is, when we are listening a hafiz reciting the Quran, we should imagine that we are listening from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, showing the ultimate respect, or as if we are listening from Jibreel alayhi salam when Jibreel alayhi salam is reciting to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we should keep ourselves tense, listening to the Quran, imagining that we are listening from the source rather than a person that we know. They also should seek to divest themselves from the carnal self's vain preoccupations and gross needs. During Ramadan, they should recite or listen to the Quran as if it were being revealed for the first time. If possible, they should listen to it as if they were hearing Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam reciting it, or Archangel Gabriel, Jibreel alayhi salam, reciting it to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or Allah Jalla wa ala revealing it to Muhammad through Jibreel alayhi salam. They should respect the Quran in their daily actions, and by conveying its message to others, demonstrate the divine purpose for its revelation. Quran was not revealed to be recited at the cemeteries. Quran was not revealed to be put on a shelf or on a wall in a nice cloth cover so that it would hang on the wall. Quran is revealed as a guide, ultimate guidance from Allah Jalla wa ala. Throughout lives, throughout the year, we should have a program of reciting and learning of the Quran, reading tafsir, learning the meanings of the ayat and applying those ayat into our lives. But especially during Ramadan, we should make extra effort for this. We should try to finish the Quran from cover to cover during Ramadan. If we don't know Arabic, also we should finish at least from the translation, trying to understand the meaning of the ayat. If there are some verses that we didn't understand clearly, we should dive into tafasir to understand the meaning of the Quran. And the best way of learning something is to teaching it. So when we learn, when we pass the knowledge to other people, that's the way we build the ilm, and this is the healthy way to learn. When we learn, we teach and pass the knowledge to others, and we demonstrate the meaning of the Quran and the message of the Quran, the divine purpose of the revelation throughout Ramadan, to become as if we are walking Quran, we are talking Quran, we are listening Quran. Everything what we do is about Quran. Don't waste, or not wasting time with ma la yani, but whatever time we have 10 minutes, make zikr of Allah, make tasbih or recite Quran, because it is the month of Quran. Ramadan transforms the Muslim world into a huge mosque in which millions recite the Quran to Earth's inhabitants. So who are the Earth's inhabitants? We have humankind, we have jinn, we have angels, we have animals, we have plants, all the creation. Some of them will listen to Quran with understanding and intention. Some of them will listen without understanding, but it's our job to recite the Quran to the inhabitants of the earth, especially for jinn and malaika, they listen and understand. Ramadan transforms the Muslim world into a huge mosque in which millions recite the Quran to earth's inhabitants, displaying the reality of the month of Ramadan in which the Quran was revealed. This is the verse we read at the beginning of the classes. شهر Ramadan, in which that the Quran was revealed with guidance and criterion from Allah Jalla wa ala. Ramadan proves itself to be the month of the Quran. While some in the vast congregation in the great mosque of the Muslim world, the author is trying to represent the whole world as a masjid, and Muslims as the congregation of this masjid. While some in the vast congregation in the great mosque of the Muslim world listen to its recitation with solemn reverence, others prefer reciting it individually. It's a tradition in my country, for example, maybe in other countries also, in the masajid in Turkey, one person, generally the imam, recites the Quran for 1 hour, or half an hour at one time, half an hour in another time, to recite one juz in each day, and people just get together, they take their mushaf, their copies of the Quran, and they follow what is recited with their eyes or fingers or with their tongues in an active listening mode. So we call it muqabala. So someone recites it and the other one listens and follows it. So this is what he's mentioning here. While some in the vast congregation in the great mosque of the Muslim world listen to its recitation with solemn reverence, utmost respect, others prefer reciting it individually. It is most disagreeable to forsake that heavenly spiritual state by obeying the carnal self. So neglecting the recitation or the listening of the Quran just to follow the lust of the nafs, and thus eating and drinking in the sacred mosque, meaning the whole world during Ramadan, not fasting and eating during Ramadan. For this provokes the whole congregation's hatred, meaning the birds, the trees, the angels, the Muslim jinn. They will be all angry for the people, for the Muslims who do not fast, especially the Muslims, but all of them, all humankind is in the same situation. If all the human beings are expected to do this, it is also most disagreeable and must provoke the Muslim world's dislike and contempt to counter and defy those Muslims who fast, defy the Muslims who fast Ramadan. So in Ramadan, it is a respect, even if you don't fast, if you can't fast, not to show that you are eating during the daytime. It is a way of respect. When I was a child in my country, in Turkey, the people who did not fast was not eating openly. They were eating at home or in a place that they can eat alone. But these days, even it's a Muslim country, people are eating outside during Ramadan disrespectfully. And of course, it's a free country, it's a free state, and people are free to fast or not fast. But at least it's a human decency to show Muslims saying that we don't fast, but we respect you, we don't want to insult you by eating in front of you. This is at least a common courtesy. And in Muslim land, Christians, Jews tended to show disrespect to the Muslims as well. When the Muslims were fasting, they wouldn't eat alone outside openly. So this is what the author is saying, that the whole world is a mosque, and whole Muslims are expected to recite or listen to Quran during the month of Ramadan, because it is the month of Quran. And during this time, instead of fasting and reciting the Quran, if people are not fasting and openly eating outside, it is a disrespect to Allah first, and all the angels, all the jinn, all the Muslims that believe in Allah and Akhirah. It is a disrespect for all the inhabitants of the world. Says the author, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين لله تعالى الفاتح.